we talk a lot about gear in the outdoors. And if you watch or read any information about the outdoors, you hear a lot about gear. So books, websites, certainly YouTube, all focus, when they're talking about the outdoors, a tremendous amount about gear. Some sources absolutely fetishize gear. And for example, I think of a particular YouTube channel that I saw that talked about nothing but Arcteryx jackets. Arcteryx is probably the most fetishized gear in the outdoor world. And all they talk about is fit and colors and features. That's really it. And it's not sponsored by Arcteryx. The guy who runs the channel's made a point of saying that he just really likes them and buys all the jackets himself. It's a little insane. But it also isn't really that surprising, in that gear is fun, and having a piece of gear that performs well is super satisfying, whereas having a piece of gear that fails precisely when you need it to be working well is incredibly frustrating. In 2015, after doing a 3-week kayaking trip in Alaska, we drove back through the Yukon and stopped to get gas, and the gas station was attached to a really large convenience store. And we walked the aisles and just saw row after row after row of like no-name outdoor gear. We realized that we could have outfitted the entire trip solely in that store, except the gear probably wouldn't have held up. The trip was pretty grueling, a lot of rain, a lot of wind, and we suspected the gear that we would have bought in that store probably would have lasted about a week. It would have saved us a lot of money, but it probably would have lasted about a week. So there is a benefit, of course, to having good gear. Good gear can be the difference between life and death. I think of outerwear as safety equipment. A driving factor in me buying the personal locator beacon I chose was because I know the reputation of the company and the quality that they strive for and the durability that they strive for when they make their products. That was a big one for me. I want to know, particularly with a piece of gear like that when I need it to work, it's going to work. And that was why I made that choice. I could easily get sucked into this channel doing a weekly gear video. Gear videos are my best videos in terms of views, but I really don't want this channel to just be about gear. I want this channel to be about the adventures that I or we do with that gear. And here is why. All the gear we buy is to further the goal of getting into the outdoors and having amazing adventures. The gear isn't the point. The experience is the point. So when you buy a piece of gear, you have to ask yourself, this is what I do. Is this piece of gear furthering my opportunities to have an amazing adventure? Or am I buying this piece of gear because this is a really cool piece of gear? Is it serving a function, or is it just cool? Do I need a 1,000 lumen flashlight when my 200 lumen headlamp will probably cut it? Do I need 3 knives and a hatchet when my everyday carry knife will probably cut it? These are the sorts of questions that I generally ask myself. I work hard to make sure that the gear that I'm buying is either making me safer or making it easier for me to get further into the backcountry or down an exposed coast someplace. That's why I buy the gear that I'm buying. Because if it isn't doing one of those things, then I probably don't need it. And if I don't need it, I don't need it.